Welcome back, channel. So this is going to be part 3. We're going to go ahead and do the oil pressure gauge and hook up the oil sensor. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. So let's go ahead. First thing we'll do is we're going to start with disconnecting the oil pressure sensor that's on the back of the block. Basically it's right below the VTEC solenoid. I'll show you guys real quick. Alright, so basically you'll have your VTEC solenoid right here, and then underneath that there's a sensor that needs to be taken out. It has one connector on it, which is going to be, oh shit, header's hot. It's going to be this one right here. So go ahead and pop that off. And then as soon as this car cools down, because it's hot just from driving it up the driveway to here, as soon as I cools down, I'll show you guys on how to take off the sensor down there. Really easy. I think it's either a 19 or 20 deep socket to take it off. So I'll wait for this to cool down, then we'll go and do that. So that's the first thing we'll do, is we'll take off the oil pressure sensor. And then I'll go ahead and show you how to do all the wiring. The adapter you need to buy, there's two companies that make them. Right now you have K-Tune. Here's the number to get it right there. That's for K-Tune's adapter. I'll show you guys how to do that real quick. And then when you get your AEM gauges, it comes with the sensor right here. So I'll go ahead and show you how to connect all this stuff. And then PLM, private manufacturer label, I think is what it's called, makes one too. They're about the same price. So I'll show you the number on that one. PLM, like I said, makes one too. I'm going to use this for my NA build eventually. And I'll use the K-Tune on this one. So whatever brand you want to get, PLM or K-Tune, there they are. There's the part number. So whatever one you want, go ahead and choose. They're basically the same thing, I think. I don't know. Some people don't like K-Tune, so go with PLM. Alright, I'll show you how to hook this up real quick. Alright, so with the K-Tune one, you get the adapter. You get some O-rings. I don't know if they have, yeah, got O-rings for it, and it's got plugs. Okay, with the PLM, go ahead and open it. The PLM comes with Teflon tape. I'm not going to use Teflon tape, and it's basically the same type style adapter, top bottom with the plugs. I do not see, I do not see any O-rings because the O-rings are on them. So yeah, that's the PLM kit. I'm probably going to use liquid Teflon or whatever for the threads. Surge, he uses the Honda Bond. You use whatever you guys want to use. You want to use Teflon tape, use whatever you guys want to use. It don't matter. It's up to you. But I'm going to use the liquid Teflon. Like Surge says, you can use the Honda Bond too. So yeah. So those are the connectors. I'll show you how to hook them up. Another thing is too, you're going to need extra wiring. You're going to need to hook up the connector from here, and to run it all the way to the sensor, you're going to have to cut the connector, because the connector is not going to reach. The connector just basically goes out the hole and that's it. So you're going to have to cut and solder. I'm going to go ahead and butt connect it with some I'll probably use these for the outside because it's got the shrink wrap where you can heat it so it stays weather. But I'm just going to use butt connectors. You're basically just looking for a signal, or power. So yeah, I'm going to use butt connectors. Up to you what you want to use. Tape it, don't matter. do what you guys want to feel. I'm gonna use butt connectors. But yes, you're gonna need extra wiring, 3 of them, red, black, and green. I don't have green, so I'm gonna go ahead and use blue, or the colors on the connector. So you'll have to, I'm gonna figure out where I want to cut on the harness, and then once I figure that out, I'll show you guys, you know, all that, the cutting and everything like that. Because basically I don't want it to be too short where the sensor is. You know, I want a little bit of line coming before I cut it or something. I don't know, I'll figure it out. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how to hook this up. Oh, it's a 3-piece part. Looks like it already has the O-rings on it on this part, O-ring here. So these are going to be extra O-rings, but it's a 3-piece part. Go ahead and check it out, take it apart. You're basically going to hook, so this is the AEM sensor, okay? That's basically going to hook onto the side of one of these holes, okay? The stock OEM sensor, let me put it back together and figure out. Ahead and tighten this up to this. Now I'm gonna go take that off. As soon as I figure out what socket you need for that, I'll let you guys know. So when you put it back together, it's gonna look like that. You're basically gonna have your your AM gauge sensor here, and then it'll be connected like that with that going into the block. Keep note that when you're putting the sensor on, it's either gonna want to go, when you go to tighten this onto the block, don't put the sensor on yet. Wait till you get this tight. Get the K-tune adapter tightened down first, then figure out which hole you're going to use for your sensor. Whether you're not going to be able to point it up because the VTech solenoid's there. Most likely you're going to go this way or this way towards the timing chain cover. You could go that way, but I probably wouldn't because your header's there, and of course you don't want the heat to be by it. And I'm sorry about my dogs, they were going crazy. Anyway, so yeah, you don't want this pointed towards the header. So it's either gonna, I don't even think it can go down because I think there's oil line there too. So you're most likely gonna be pointed it towards the timing chain. So yeah, let's get to this. Take this off real quick. So yeah, so this connector is a 22mm to screw this back into the block. The OEM that's on the block now is a 24. So that when you go and start screwing this into the block, you're going to want to screw down from here, okay? You don't want to screw it down from this part because you'll end up breaking it and tearing up the threads. So use a deep socket, and when you go into the block, make sure you screw it from this part, right, or tighten it down from this part. And that's pretty much for that. So I'm going to go ahead and take my 24 and take the OEM sensor off, and I'll get back to you guys. Once you pull it out, that's what you're gonna have. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up too, because it's pretty dirty. So that's what you have, 24mm socket to get this out. So this, like I said, will go on top of the excuse me, the K-tune K-tune adapter. It'll sit right up top there. Okay, I'll go ahead and clean this up, put some liquid Teflon on it and connect it to that. Or actually, you know what, I will go ahead and hook that up first, clean this up, and then hook this into there. So let's go ahead and set this down. Go ahead and I'll start plugging this, or start screwing this into the block. That way I can figure out what hole I'm going to use and then hook up the OEM sensor. So the sensor, the OEM sensor, wasn't on there tight, so don't worry about that. It's really easy to come off. So I'll go ahead and put some liquid Teflon on this part and start putting this in. Remember, 22mm. All right, so back here on the block, when you remove the OEM sensor, you will have some adhesive on there, or silicone, whatever. Go ahead and clean that off a little bit before you put the new one on. Like I said, I'm just gonna dab a little bit on it. Probably put a little bit more, but once you start threading it in, that'll spread evenly. But so I'm gonna go ahead and hook this up. So remember, on the back side of the block, when you take out the OEM, you're probably gonna have some leftover gasket stuff on there. Go ahead and clean that up with the Scotch-Brite or whatever to get that cleaned up before you put the new one on. That way you get a nice maintenance surface. Alright, so if you look, it's on. It's right there. As you can see, the one hole, that's where I'm going to put the AEM gauge sensor. And then there's going to be another hole. Oh shit, sorry guys. And there's going to be another hole on that. It's going to, you can't really see it, but basically there's a hole there. There'll be a hole up here and then a hole on the bottom. So you want to go ahead and hook your sensor up on that hole and plug the other two. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug all the sensors in. As you can see, the AEM gauge sensor right there is hooked up. Leaves me enough room. Let's see, leaves me enough room down there to get the plug-in on. Again, don't tighten all these connectors up too tight. Save all that hand strength for when you're alone with yourself. But yeah, you don't have to be tight. What was I gonna say? There was something. Oh yeah, so I tried to hit a deep socket on this because of that oil line right there. It's almost impossible to get to. So I couldn't put the deep socket. I basically used a crescent wrench and I tightened it from the spot that I told you guys not to tighten it from. But like I said, if you just don't manhandle it, you'll be all right. But I tried to get a deep socket on there and I couldn't because of this oil line right here. So I used a crescent wrench for most of it to get it all on. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put the plugs in on the both sides, and then I think I'll then hook up the OEM sensor, and then I think we are ready to do some wiring. All right, so it's all hooked up. If you can see back here, right there's the OEM sensor right there. Go ahead and plug it back in. So that's all hooked up, good to go. Now we're gonna move on to the wiring. So that should be, it's actually pretty easy. Like I said, we have to extend. I'll show you the plugs we have to extend. So these plugs right here, this is what plugs into that sensor. And as you can tell right now, that's all we got. So they gotta reach all the way over to that sensor. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and try to feed it through and see how much length I need to cut for the wiring. The other thing I've got to do too, which I told in my last video or my first video, was you need to label these boost and oil because the connector's the same. Well, yeah, I labeled them, but I only labeled the wire connector parts. I should have been labeling these. So now I gotta hook some power up to them and see which one of these is boost and which one of these is oil. So yeah, so don't do that mistake. Go ahead and make sure you label these ones and these ones, that way you know. So now I gotta figure out which one it is. But no matter what, I do gotta extend both of them because the boost gauge is eventually probably gonna run up underneath the fender in the front where the vacuum block's gonna be. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hook, not hook, but extend both of them, and then figure out which one of these is the oil pressure gauge by plugging it in and see if the oil pressure reads on the oil pressure gauge. That's how I'm going to figure out which one of these is oil pressure. Hopefully, we'll see. For the wiring, like I said, I don't want to cut it right here and just leave this connector over there. I'm probably going to come back quite a bit on this wire, I think. You know, maybe to about somewhere in this part, and then cut those wires, and then take this and plug it into the sensor, and then extend from where I cut here and extend it back into the cab and hook it back up to the other wires. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and feed it through there right now and see how much I need to deal with wiring. All right, so I went ahead and cut the connector for the AM gauge, as you can see right here. Gonna plug it in, and then, oops, sorry, let's put you guys down like I was talking to myself. I'll plug it in, and you'll see I got about probably 2.5 feet of wiring. And then I will go ahead and trim those back and extend the wires and butt connect it and then bring it inside. So if you look at this, I cut it about that much. So basically when I butt connect it right here, connect it all, it'll be up in this area of the console tucked away. So yeah, so basically gonna swoosh it, split this all back, or you don't have to do that. But anyways, you're gonna connect this, take your wiring you got, and extend it. As soon as I figure out, I'll let you know how much feet I extended, and you can go off of that. I went and measured on how much I needed, so I gave myself about 7 feet of wiring. It's a little bit more, which is good. Better to have more than less. So yeah, so 7 feet. So I'll go ahead and take my other 2 wires I need to cut, the black and green, well, blue, and measure and match those up with these and cut them, and then I'll be ready to butt connect them and get them all hooked up and see what happens. So I am using 18 gauge wiring. If you wanted to, you can go lower. I think these are probably 14 gauge, but are they? Yeah, they're about probably 14, 16, but anyways, stay within 18 gauge, and yeah, I'll just go with 18. Just use 18. Fuck it. Once you get, you know, one butt connected like that, I'll go ahead and shrink the shrink wrap part down and probably put some tape over it just for extra precaution. That's what you'll do. You just keep doing that with the rest of the wires, and then we'll do the same when we get inside. So they're heat shrinked up. I'm gonna go ahead, like I said, put some tape on it to make it more secure, just for precaution. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get my felt tape and wrap all this, and then I'm probably gonna tuck it along the bar that's right by the rack and pinion, and then drop it down through the hole. So that's what I'm gonna do now, and then we'll go ahead and hook it up in the inside. I went ahead and felt tape the whole thing, and then I had some extra loom laying around, so I went ahead and loomed it. So now I'm going to plug it in, feed it through, zip tie it to that bar, and then start hooking up power. So I got it tucked. You can see the green wire right there. So it's tucked and it's hidden on that bar, and then you can see it right there, and then it drops into the hole. That's where I routed it. All right, so hit it inside and let's hook up the power. You'll take your wires that are running from your sensor, and you'll connect it to your gauge pod. So red with red, black with black, green with blue in my situation. My situation. So I'll go ahead and connect those, and then I will take the power, and I'll show you guys how to tap the power into the existing power we have there from the air feed ratio. I'll show you how to do that. So I'll go ahead and wire these up, and then we'll see if we'll get some power to it, and hopefully I got the right connector, and it's the oil pressure, not the boost. So we'll see. So I got that hooked up, got it butt connected. Of course, I'll put some tape on it. The next thing I'm gonna do is get power to the gauge. This is what we did here, was just getting the sensor wired in. So now we're gonna get power to the gauge. I am using these T connectors. Basically, you'll take this little metal part right there. It's got a slit. Okay, it's got a slit. You'll take the wire. You'll put the wire in that slit, and then you'll close it, and it'll get power to that. Okay, so you just put it on there and close it, and then on this end, if you look right in there, it has a slit in there. That's what I'm going to use this for, to get the power to run to the actual power for the gauge, for the pod. So they're called T connectors. You can get them on Amazon. I paid like probably 10-13 bucks for this pack right here. Tells you how to do them, but it's pretty easy. It's a good way on how to tap into wires. So that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know if everybody does it this way. This is the way I'm doing it. There's other ways you can do it, I guess. This is the way I'm doing it. So I'll go ahead and show you. I'll go ahead and crimp this on there, and then I'll show you how to put this on real quick. So I'm going to put the red wire right onto this one, which was the AFR wires. The reason I'm doing on that one is because the wire fits nice into that slit, where the bigger one up here that connects to the fuse box doesn't fit on that pretty good. So I'm going to hook it up onto this one. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then get back into it and show you guys. All right, so as you can see here, I got them crimped onto the wires. I got the extra wire with the male end right here on both the ground and the power. So now I'm gonna try to get some power and ground it out real quick to see if these got a good signal. As you can tell, when you crimp them, you got to use take some pliers and squeeze it together. It's pretty tough until that little clip right there clips in. But yeah, if you can do it by hand, you can do it by hand. Go ahead. I don't have good hand strength. Beat off too much, I guess. But anyway, just use pliers or crimp it if you have to. So now I'm gonna go ahead and test it and make sure everything's getting power to it. All right, so I went ahead and just touched them together real quick, and as you can tell, there's the AFR and there's the boost. So that splitting those wires like that definitely gets power to it and ground, because we definitely got power right here. So now my next step is, once I get all this connected with the butt connectors right here, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the car and make sure that this one that I have right here is the actual oil pressure and not the boost. If not, then I have to go with the other one. So yeah, I'll figure it out. But anyways, so let's get this butt connected, and then we'll check and see if I actually have the right connector for the boost, or for the air, god damn it, oil pressure. So yeah. All right, so there it is, it's working. I did get the right one, thank God. But everything's working, everything's hooked up. See, give it a little bit of gas. Goes up, comes back down. It is cold right now, I just started it. So yeah, so everything is working. So that's how you do it. Pretty simple. So the job wasn't too long. Of course I had to stop, record, and I had to run down and get a couple tools from the shop and run back up at least 4 times. So let's see, I started at 9:30, and what time is it now? It is 1:40. So figure 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30. So 4 hours. So all in all, it should take you about maybe 3 hours to get this job done. It's really not that hard. You know, the hooking up the sensor and the wiring, that's all it is. Really not that hard of a job. So about 3 hours, you should probably have it done. I should take the key out. So yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get all this shit tucked up, taped up, get it all tucked up there, because my next gauge that I'm going to hook up is going to be the boost gauge, and that's going to be a while before I hook that up, because I don't have the turbo kit yet from Humble Performance. It's taking forever, but we'll get it when we get it. So yeah, so I'll go ahead and get all this shit bundled up, tucked back up, and leave it there for a while. So basically, if you wanted to not, you know, if you're looking to do all these gauges right now and I don't have the boost gauge video, it's the same thing. You'll power in like that. You got to cut the connector for the boost gauge, and you got to stretch it, and you got to hook it up to your vacuum block and your sensor that goes on your vacuum block. So it's same concept of doing the oil pressure, same fucking thing. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So when I get the boost, all the turbo shit hooked up, I will go ahead and do an install video on how to do the boost gauge and throw it to the playlist of this. But yeah, so everything works. I'm happy with it. So that will conclude this video. Hopefully this works out for you guys. Hopefully it helps you guys out. I will go ahead, I have to go and check to make sure there's no leaks for oil. I'm pretty sure it's good, but never know, so I'll drive it, check for leaks. If you got leaks, of course I'll fix it. So yeah, so that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I have we're going to a trunk and treat tonight, so stay tuned for that video. I'll go ahead and record that one and throw it up on the channel. It's gonna be pretty cool. Had a car meet, trunk and treat car meet. So yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and KL Day, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.